What minor injustice was wrought upon you as a child that you're still salty about today? Someone's phone went off in class, so teacher demanded that person turn their phone it. No one budges. She holds us in class for a good 20 minutes into the next period antagonizing us about this phone that rung. Eventually she let us go and warned all other teachers about this phone incident. My 8th period teacher then gets involved and antagonizes us all again. Said he was gonna stand out in the hall and whoever knows anything to report to him. Some kid went out there and said it was my phone. I got yelled at, got written up for Saturday detention, and later that year found out the kid who told on me was the one whose phone rung in class. Okay, now this one pisses me off. What asshat does that? It's better to just not say anything. When I was younger I wanted a Sega Dreamcast. My parents wouldn't just buy it for me, since I already had enough Nintendos. I got a job at Hollywood Video. I couldn't even drive yet, so I would ride my BMX to work in my tuxedo uniform. When I saved enough money, I told my parents I was going to buy it myself. They told me no. When I asked why, they said it was to teach me that I can't always get what I want, even if I can afford it. I bought one anyway and successfully hid it from them. Every night when I went to bed, I'd hook up the Dreamcast and play as quietly as possible. I still give them shit for that decision, but they stand by it. Greater than they said it was to teach me that I can't always get what I want, even if I can afford it. Pardon my presumptuousness, but what kind of bogus reasoning is that? You worked hard to save up money to buy something you wanted, and you weren't even old enough to drive, so it's not like you had a budget or other bills to worry about. That kind of determination is something parents should reward a kid for. When I was 4 I had a little red rocking horse necklace. It was my favorite. I wore it to a puppet show my dad took me to one day and took it off and put it beside me. The kid next to me picked it up and wouldn't give it back. We fought. My dad told her dad he didn't recognize the necklace and let her take it. I'm 45 and still salty. Well, now I am salty. I was failed on an essay in English class because my interpretation was incorrect. The poet was describing an airplane and they asked us to figure how what it was being interpreted or anthropomorphized as. I was a paleo nerd and chose a pterosaur, because the author described the engines as screeching, and heaving, wings outstretched but still, etc. This was in 6th grade and in my essay I wrote, and pterosaurs weren't like modern birds. They certainly didn't chirp. The teacher specifically read my essay out loud to the class as an example of something bad and wrong and incorrect. She also didn't know what a pterosaur was or how you say pterodactyl. Big Salt could mine me until the sun explodes. Oh, I fucking hated it when teachers would use examples from the class on what not to do. Or when they had us grade each other's papers and you always had that one person who would question every written question. And since we swapped with the person behind us, everyone knew who wrote that answer. My 2nd grade teacher had a reward system for grades. It was a candy dispensing machine that you twist and candy came out. 2 twists for an A and 1 twist for a B. I got a B and got my candy. Gave it to someone else, then went to sit down and she accused me of taking an extra twist, and told me stealing was wrong. I told her I actually took one and gave it away cause I didn't like chocolate and thought M and Ms were nasty. And she told me, we don't call things nasty, and made me go to my desk and put my head down as a punishment. I don't really like M teacher. Shut. When I was younger my family didn't have much money. Like at all really. I really wanted a telescope. BC at the time I was super into space exploration and I kept seeing people talk about looking at the planets through a telescope. Mom picked one up from a yard sale that was missing all its lenses. Everything you looked at was blurry. I tried for 2 months straight to figure out a way to use it, but to no avail. My little sister has always wanted to do everything I want to do, to a point I no longer talk about things I'm interested in as she gets literally everything she could possibly want. Need for these interests while I had to make do. Anyways, she got a brand new Discovery Channel telescope with fancy lenses and shit, and she hasn't taken it out of the box once. I had the same thing happen to me. I didn't get one from a yard sale though. My little brother never even used his. When I was 15 I queued up for 2 hours, to get in the first carriage for the stealth ride at Thorpe Park. When it was my turn Craig David walked up the exit steps and sat in the front row. He and his entourage then stayed on the ride for another go-round. I just had to stand there awkwardly on the platform waiting for him to get bored and leave. That was 16 years ago and I'm getting riled up again just thinking about it. Never trust a man with two first names. We had a special arts and crafts week when I was about 6, maybe younger. I made my dad a Christmas stocking out of clay, because I'd always thought it was unjust that he didn't have one. It was going to be my Christmas presents to him. I took it to the teacher to show her, and so it could be fired later. She methodically destroyed it by balling it up in her hands, and then tried to put it down to a brain fart. I was shocked, but mostly I wanted a replacement stocking, since it was meant to be a gift. I asked her to remake it for me, since she, a teacher, would be allowed to use the clay anytime, but I only had a few minutes left. The next day I was told I'd been bad and I wasn't allowed to participate in the arts and crafts week anymore, and that was that. What the fuck? I'm mad for you. In 4th grade our teacher told us to write a paper about what we thought of our school. Now our school wasn't great and I was homeschooled up until that year and struggling with the change, so wrote about my frustrations and how I was generally unhappy with it, and she insulted me in front of everybody until the point that I cried and then told me I should get up and read the paper to the class. I refused and she made me rewrite that paper until it was positive. You know, instead of trying to help me with the problems I had. Write an honest review about our school. No, it's not supposed to be negative. A teacher thought I was talking when I was the only silent kid in the class and didn't let me do some sort of activity the rest were doing. I swear this happens all the time, where a teacher just gets an idea in their head that the silent kid is the one talking and passes judgment. Why does this story keep happening? What possesses these teachers? I don't get it. I had a high fever for several days. Couldn't walk. Couldn't sit. Couldn't pee. Couldn't sleep. My medical parents kept saying I just had the flu. It's the flu. It's just the flu, it'll pass. Fever on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. It's at 104. I am barely able to move and function. I am in agonizing pain. But it's the flu, just give it time. Wednesday evening, I felt a pop and felt better. You're just on the back end of the flu, you're recovering. Thursday morning my dad finally drives me to the ER because I'm now jaundiced and am really dizzy. My appendix ruptured. I spent 9 days in the hospital because the infection was attacking my entire body due to sepsis. 22 years later, still fucking mad about it. Giant scars. I had surgery last year to remove an entire abdomen filled with scar tissue because of the sepsis. The scar tissue rerouted my entire bowel and took over an ovary and my kidneys. But it was just the flu. You are extremely lucky to be alive. Did your parents ever apologize? My parents often didn't buy me the gift I wanted because my sister, who was 13 years older than me, would have gotten jealous and thrown a fit. My mom didn't get a high school graduation party because it would have upset her sister. I literally can't understand how a family can be that fucked up, even though I'm related to these people and I've literally seen some of their crazy shit. We were making plastic bead necklaces in 1st grade as a class. There was a big bowl in the middle of the table that everyone could pick beads from and add them onto the necklace. Most of the beads are various shades of blue. I found this neat-looking green one and added it to my necklace. This kid who was sitting next to me looks at the necklace that I am making and says, "That bead is mine." I look down and see that it's the unique-looking green one that he's pointing at. I tell him that clearly the bead is already on my necklace and that it's first come first serve. He goes to the teacher and tells her that I took his bead. Teacher doesn't ask me what happened or verify the story. Takes my necklace from out of my hands, takes every bead off of my necklace and gives the green bead to this other kid. Every time I tried to protest, she just talked over me and told me it was wrong to take other people's things. Complained to my parents, parents talked to teacher. Teacher said she didn't remember it happening. Never got my bead back. The kid also moved to a new state weeks later, we never saw him again. Still salty. Sort of similar, I've got a sort of unusual name. You don't see it on personalized things in shops. Like one time on vacation I found my name on a toothbrush. I bought 3, so seeing as my mom gave me my uncommon name, hers is extremely common. She ordered me a set of personalized wooden pencils when I was in 4th grade. They had my first and last name on them in gold. I was down to my last hot pink one, which was my favorite. The boy sitting next to me asked to borrow it, and I said no, but I lent him a spare normal pencil. Later when I came back from the bathroom he had my hot pink pencil. When I told the teacher she said, "That's his pencil." I argued that it literally had my name embossed on it in gold and she said, "That's his pencil, I'll hear no more on this." He graduated with me and I'm still salty about it. My uncle said he'd pay me to mow his lawn while they lived in Hawaii for a year or so, and then never did. Retroactive revenge. Mow a bunch of lawns from somewhere else. Keep all the grass and then dump it all on your uncle's lawn. Once a week, in kindergarten, they would pick a name of a kid who would win a toy. Only good kids could participate. I was always a good kid, but not really lucky. My name got picked only once in the whole year. That day, unfortunately for me, I was next to a kid who would not shut up during the lesson. I spoke once to ask him to please stop talking. Guess who the teacher chose to punish for disturbing the lesson? That's right. Me. Didn't get my toy. As the quiet kid myself, I'm pissed for you. In kindergarten, we sat on this foam mat made out of large puzzle pieces, and we were all assigned one. My puzzle neighbor, Tommy, threw his garbage onto my square. Every time I pushed it off, he'd put it back. I eventually got mad and told him to knock it off, and the teacher noticed and yelled at me for throwing garbage into his square. I sat out for the rest of the day and the pin was brought down to bad day. I accidentally broke his nose on the metal spider a few weeks after during tag, though. Accidentally, one comes to mind that I've never gotten over. When I was younger my parents subjected me to the weekly book club that was Sunday school. There was a Sunday school teacher there that had promised $20 for those who could memorize all the book names of the Bible. For 11-12-year-old, $20 was a fortune. So for the next week I memorized them all. Old and New Testament. Sunday morning I was ready. Listed all of them in front of her. What do I get? A good job, and her saying God was very proud of me. I couldn't even ask about the money because she just left immediately after. Fuck Sunday school. She must have only learned 9/10 commandments. I used to get 2 comics delivered on Saturday mornings. Highlight of my week. Wasn't allowed to read them unless I finished my breakfast. I felt really sick and didn't want to eat. Dad ripped up my comics. As I was protesting they noticed a few red spots on my arm, took off my shirt and I had measles. No apology, no comics. I was so mad that in now 41 and it pisses me right off. Greater than Dad ripped up my comics what? He should have said, I won't let you read this until you eat. And then give them back to you when they realized you were sick and not faking. I hate reading stories of parents outright destroying their child's property if the child does something wrong. I read the book, The Black Stallion, in grade school. It was one of my favorites. I was telling my teacher about it and she corrected me on the main character's name. She said it was Alex, even if it was spelled Alec, and I couldn't convince her otherwise. To this day I'm annoyed by that interaction. I hope she realizes her mistake and feels bad about it for the rest of her living days. I got sent to the principal's office in kindergarten because a classmate thought I'd spat on her. Goddammit Kelsey, I did not spit on you, you lying bitch. I was about 10 years old. I was cutting an apple with a knife. Knife slipped and cut my finger. It was bleeding like crazy and scared me so I called my parents who were out on our property, big property, and I was so scared and freaked sounding on the phone. They rushed over and seeing the very small cut on my finger were really mad at me for freaking out so much. Of course by the time they got back the bleeding had almost stopped and I had calmed down a lot. They also for some reason were convinced it was a butter knife and constantly retold that story with me cutting my finger with a butter knife. It was not a fucking butter knife, Mom. It was a regular kitchen knife. As an adult looking back on it, I'm 100% sure I interrupted some important business a married couple would want to take care of in the short break they had from their kid that day as we lived in a tiny house at the time LMAO. We had a project to take care of a hard-boiled egg for a week, in maybe 3rd or 4th grade, age 9 to 10. We spent all morning making a little cushioned box for it. I was happy with my little egg. Come lunchtime, we go to the coat closet to get our stuff, and this boy intentionally knocks my egg out of my hand. It smashed to the floor, I cried, he laughed and ran away. The teacher initially thought I dropped it, and gave me a lecture about how I couldn't even make it out the door before I broke it. That really sucked. See, I was abused at home so I only felt worthwhile or successful in school. But she figured out what had happened through my sobs, and gave me a new egg. She laughed and told me that the boy picked on me because he liked me, which is terrible advice and also confused the shit out of me for a while. But I am still mad at that boy. Fuck you, man, you killed my egg for no reason. Boo. I hope you have terrible allergies now. I hope that every time he goes near an egg he gets terrible allergies and remembers the day he killed your egg. Parents didn't believe me that my leg hurt that much and took away a stick I picked up to support myself on a way to the hospital. Turned out that I had a crack in my bone. They apologized and all but same here. I complained of knee pain for years. To be fair, they did take me to the doctor but it wasn't anything obvious. And my stepmom started suggesting I was faking it. Cut to a few years later and I get another x-ray to find my bone is being eaten away by a tumor. Fun times. As a 15-year-old, I needed dental surgery to remove excess skin from my gums after some serious orthodontic work over the years. My teeth were so far apart that when they were eventually brought back in line I had a heap of loose skin on my gums. So my mum thought it would be appropriate to keep her weekly golf game and make me ride my bike to the oral surgeon, get the surgery and then ride home again afterwards with a mouth full of stitches, gauze and a numb face. Yes, I drooled blood all down my shirt as I struggled to breath while riding a few kilometers home after mouth surgery because my mother wanted to play golf that day. She's a great mum, but fuck me, she didn't win any prizes that day.
Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.